Welcome, guys. Good to have you. So we're talking about employee of the future and how digital technology and trends will impact that and social trends will impact that. So you've all got an opinion on that, I hope, and some thoughts, I hope. So let's start off with a question, if we could, and maybe we'll just go around the table and warm up a bit around how technology can enable a more productive workforce. Enrique, can we start with you? You've got a very distributed workforce out in the field. Perhaps you've got some thoughts on that.
For us, very important is communication. So enabling, we've got people in very many locations, rail tracks, in pits, in mechanical pits, etc., who need communication. We need to know where they are, we need to talk to them. And traditionally, it would have been a job of maybe a supervisor kind of going around and checking. Now you can have someone on a rail track reasonably safe through technology. Because both the person knows where the train is, the train knows where the person is, and so on and so forth.
Oh, so safety is a big thing.
Safety is a big thing.
Yeah. And is that impacting their productivity as well?
It impacts their productivity because, of course, they need to, they don't need to worry about those things. They need to spend less time in, checking on things or doing things because technology does it for them.
Okay. Yeah. Great. And who wants to chip in next? Who's got something different from the workforce?
Yeah. I suppose from my perspective at MacDonald, we're a professional services organisation. So
it's a very different community.
Yeah, we've got 17,000 people spread out all over the world, knowledge workers. And I think over the last 10 years, like the improvement in productivity has been enormous. And we're an industry, we're sort of infrastructure focused, an industry where productivity is a real problem. So I think the improvement's all down to cloud technology and the rise of cloud. So what we're finding, just a couple of examples. So people are completely liberated from their desk. So they're different type of people from your organisation. So we can work wherever we want, whenever we want, and almost from any device we want. And that's just such an improvement for people's work-life balance, although there are risks as well, obviously.
Okay, so work-life balance and therefore productivity, do you think?
Yep, absolutely.
Oh, fantastic.
The other thing that I think even more profound is the ability to communicate and collaborate across the world. So we've got world-class experts around the world. Yeah. And what we can do now, because you can access people, you can communicate, is we can bring that expert to bear on the client's problem and make sure we get the best solution. But the other way that's been really interesting, I think, over the last few years is the rise of communities. So what we find, you've got the expert that probably knows the answer, but if you post a question onto one of our communities, you get like a crowdsourced answer as well.
Right.
Yeah. And it's moderated by the community.
Yeah.
And we're finding that we're getting exceptional sort of innovative solutions to problems.
Better results because of that. So in fact, one of our questions is around remaining cohesive and employees remaining cohesive despite perhaps digital technology separating them in geographies and physical locations. But actually what you're saying there is that's enabling that cohesion through communities and crowdsourcing ideas and those kinds of things. Fantastic.
Picking up those thoughts, Johnson Matthey is in 32 countries around the world, and we've got plants and scientists around the world, and our mission is to make the world a cleaner and healthier place today and for the future. And our strategy is to look at this in three ways. So we've got scientists, we've got managers, we've got producers in plants. So what we have to do for the scientists, which is based on knowledge sharing and the ability to share data securely but very efficiently amongst those experts, as you do with MacDonald, is to provide tools to enable that. For the managers, it's on a global basis. How do we run a genuinely global enterprise across time zones that absolutely do not overlap? So providing those collaboration tools, and we're putting in 100 video rooms around the world to really make that effective. And then finally, and probably the most biggest opportunity for productivity is in plants, where we manufacture about a third of the world's catalytic converters. We're investing in new battery materials for electric vehicles, how do we put in latest machine learning analytics on top of those plants to really optimize production? So 3 very different groups of employees that we need to enable in different ways.
Yeah, fascinating. And Dave?
Yeah, I mean, I was going to lead on collaboration because I think that is a key element, but more around perhaps the innovation. So not necessarily problem solving, but co-creation. And we do a lot of open innovation, working with external, third parties, and then bringing them into that community in the R&D side of things. And I think, I guess we're all quite similar in those
absolutely,
areas.
Yeah. And the plant side of things, so the production plant, obviously you're into production of chemicals. Are you seeing technology in plant and what I would call industrial IT?
Yes, definitely.
Are you seeing that impact there?
I think there's 2 aspects there. I think there's an element of efficiency and, again, enabling the frontline worker, removing paper from the process. We've still got a bit of that going on. But equally, how do we use data in real time to affect that production process? Because, chemical manufacturing is affected even by the weather, right? So the pressure changes can affect the production process. So you need to get that data in real time, and you need to influence it, in production run.
Very good. And Mark, what your viewpoint?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot's been covered. Device proliferation. Darren mentioned anytime, anywhere. So getting data on the go. It being done globally because the workforce is global, the customer base is ever more global, as Enrique mentioned, and collaboration is critical. So once you've got that, how do you enable them to work in disparate locations? So all of that is good. But actually the exciting stuff often is once that's done, how do you deliver business disruption in the models to go out to business? And putting the data and the analytics at workforce's fingertips, certainly in somewhere like Mott, MacDonald. So instead of spending 60% of their day trying to get to the answer, they've already got information, information, not data, to then enable them to execute on faster decision making, whether that be on better chemical manufacturing or whatever. And I think that's the exciting thing, and that's where and actually the business and the competitors in that globalization are demanding that speed of efficiency. I don't think any of us are going through digital transformation for the sake of it. It's about where we need to go at the end of it to stay competitive and to deliver revenue growth effectively.
Okay, and just perhaps continuing with you for a second, Mark, how are you seeing organisations that you work with cope with that speed of change around that application of digital technology? Because certainly I come across a lot of people who are struggling to consume it at the pace that has the potential to improve productivity, but how do they consume it? How can you, do you have a view on that?
It's a challenge, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of noise, whether it's from SD-WAN vendors saying this is what you've got to do to make a better network. You've got CEOs that are saying, well, maybe you don't have as much money. We want you to reduce the cost by 25, 30% a year. We need you to keep all of these applications on whilst turning everything onto cloud. So, the concept of, I guess, you've got to change the wheel whilst driving. And I think what we tend to find is the groundwork's the most important thing. So understanding, the network starts most things. So enabling that then enables you to deliver a much more advanced unified communication system. But also being mindful, what we find working with some of our customers is being very clear on the goals they're looking to achieve from a business perspective. And often, you talk to many CTOs, I'm sure it's like, well, how was it successful? Well, I didn't really get any complaints. Was about the best that it could deliver, but actually delivering what have you been enabled to put into the cloud, whether that be an SAP platform or something else that's enabled you to change the way you go to market.
Sure.
And I think having a clear goal of what's in sight is critical.
Sure. And perhaps we'll just have a little whip round and see, is there anything getting in the way of you guys consuming technology to enable productivity? Let's start here with Dave.
I was going to say I think there is a clear line almost between digital natives and digital immigrants, and I think that's been, and obviously the digital immigrants are more experienced and often in the management or leadership positions of an organisation.
Right.
And they're often the people who are struggling most with how do I take advantage of these changes that are available. So you've got the younger generations coming in wanting it and expecting it in some respects, but the business leaders needing to feel comfortable and not exposed.